Cheat, and Steal, the podcast about liars, frauds, thieves, and bullshitters. I'm your host, Pat Royce. Just to let you guys know, we drop 2 episodes every month right here in the free feed. You can go check those out. If you like what you hear and you want to hear more of what we're putting out, you can sign up for our Patreon. It's at patreon.com/lie, cheat, and steal. You get ad-free episodes. You get access to our back catalog, as well as 2 additional episodes every month, and you get in our Discord server and you can chat with other like-minded members of the Scam Gang about all things scam. Check us out online. We are on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at Lie, Cheat, Steal Podcast. That being said, I am here as always with my co-host, Kath Barbadoro. Kath, how you doing?
Hi, Pat. I'm good. What can I ask about your shirt?
Oh, yeah. So this shirt is the All Cops Are Wiggum. And
okay. I thought it was Wiggum, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah, in the
like,
back. And yeah,
Okay,
all of our
spin?
listeners need to go check this out. The back is just a montage of the greatest hits.
Oh, wow.
Wiggum.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got a
Amazing.
Yeah, really nice. I saw this. I wish I could remember the fucking company right now. I saw it on Instagram. It was like a Simpsons meme page, and they were like, "Hey, we're gonna put these out," and I ordered it, pre-order, and fucking forgot about it. It showed up at my house a couple weeks ago, and I was like, "Hell yeah!"
I love to pre-order and forget about it.
Yeah.
Always exciting. Always the best option if I can take it.
I've been buying a lot of political clothing lately, like not even really intending to.
I know, it's unusual for you.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, is that another politics shirt? Because like, I know you're very vocal about your politics, but you don't generally wear them.
No, I do not. Yeah, I generally, I mean, just usually politics don't go with Jordans, you know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't really vibe. But I found some cool shirts. The Flaming Ice one is dope. And I'm a huge Simpsons fan anyways. And I literally always, whenever I would see a Wiggum clip on Instagram, I would always comment. I would go, Wiggum is the most accurate portrayal of American law enforcement in film and television. Like it's by far, like he's the most accurate depiction.
Nice. Well, yeah. Pro cop. Nice.
Yeah.
Pro cop is in goodbye, not as in you are pro cop.
Yeah.
It was an anti-cop, pro cop.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Pro copping. Yeah. Oh man. But how are you doing, Kath? What's going on out there in the great city of New York?
Well, so yesterday we have this like weird schedule so that like there are 14 weeks in the semester, or I guess there's 15 weeks in the semester, including all the vacations. But the way the vacations are like staggered is to make sure like every day of the week has one class off. So like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday don't have classes Thanksgiving week. Monday doesn't have class Labor Day. And then Tuesday, they give us Indigenous Peoples Day, no class Tuesday. But I work my day job at the college on Tuesday, and I don't work my day job on Monday, and they have classes. I feel like that's all very confusing, but it is to say I had the day off yesterday, and then today I worked, but I didn't have to teach. So I'm glad I get like a little bit of a break.
Oh, hell
otherwise, my Tuesdays are 10 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. like nonstop.
Yeah, that's a long one. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's nice to have a little break. I'm excited to record. I don't think. Oh, I saw Tom Sharpling this weekend. Have you ever listened to The Best Show?
No,
it's a long-running call-in radio show.
I've heard of this. The Best Show.
Speed.
Yeah.
One thing they do that I do think you would like is because it's a call-in show. When there's a caller who is like a bore or just like a shitty, like not adding anything. They play the song Bad Company and fade them out. I think it's very funny. Yeah. So they let them keep talking and like be boring and then just fade up Bad Company, fade out the person. So funny.
That's very
Anyway,
good.
I went to see that this weekend. That was very fun. What have you been up to?
Oh, nothing much. I had a very good weekend. We're recording this on Tuesday. So basically, I feel like I broke out of a curse this weekend. So I work at the bar on the weekends, and I work till fucking 3 a.m, and like it's still my weekend. I still want to hang out. So I'm hitting up my
Yeah.
friends who are hanging out at 3 a.m. and, seeing some buddies and stuff. It's been fun. But I kind of was like, man, I'm just like, I'm not getting rest on my fucking weekends. I'm like,
Yeah.
so this
But it's
week.
that like oppositional defiant disorder where you're like, but now I'm off the clock, so I need to like get in the hours, even though like you're on the clock is at the bar you would be hanging out at
Yeah, yeah,
anyway. But
yeah,
you're like,
yeah.
but it's work. I need
Yeah,
to do
yeah,
the fun part.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I can only do it like I'll pop off. I'll see one of our friends and like go say what's up to him. But generally, like I have to be over there by that fucking door, and like so this
Right.
weekend.
Yeah, you can't have fun.
Yeah, yeah. Like I still be. Please stop on by, guys. 456 on Cesar Chavez. But like
I
we be
actually
having fun.
recommended the bar to someone who's about to head to Austin. And I said,
Hell yeah.
go to this bar and just ask them about Tony Hinchcliffe. That's what I said. I was like, just ask them what the deal is with Tony Hinchcliffe, and they'll probably buy you shots.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Just how much time do you have, sir? Yeah.
Right.
Dude, that's great.
Anyway.
Yeah, like so I got off work and just went straight home and went to bed for the first time in a very long time. Like where I've just been like
Beautiful.
getting in my weekends until I woke up and I went for a run. I went for a hike on Sunday and a run. Well,
Nice.
running and hiking, you know what I'm saying? Got my shit together, got myself planned up for the week, and like started this week feeling refreshed for like the first time in a fucking while. It's been like 6 weeks.
Nice.
And yeah, I said, I was telling everybody, I said, I feel like I broke a curse. Like I just got all this shit together. And yeah, I got I got ahead on like some of the stuff we do for the podcast. I got ahead on my homework for school. And for the first time in like a month and a half, I don't feel like I'm playing catch up. And it feels really good. It's only Tuesday. And again, I've mentioned this on the show before, but it's like when I chill out and get all my ducks in a row, I feel like I have superpowers. And I'm just like, is this just real life? This is just what regular people feel like?
Well, today, I mean, we're recording 2 episodes today, and then we'll be a month ahead for the podcast.
Yeah.
So you're gonna get like extra, we're really on top of shit right now.
Yeah, man.
Hopefully this isn't woefully out of date by the time this comes out. I think this one will be next week, so I think we'll be okay.
Yeah. We're totally on top of shit. It's like fast forward. It's like, yeah, Pat got a DUI. I fucking
Kath got canceled somehow.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare.
The downfall of LCS.
Are you doing a topical story today or no? Are we safe?
No, it's not. I mean, it ties in. I guess it ties into a little bit of topics, but no, this is just one that I did something that caught my attention and I wanted to talk about. I read a book about it, and it was like, oh, this is very interesting. And so
you hear that? Pat read a whole book for this episode. You're
apologize.
welcome, listeners.
In audio book while I installed lighting fixtures.
That counts. That counts.
Yeah.
Completely counts.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm going to put eyes to paper, and if I'm going to like find me when I turn out on my journeyman license and I can like stop all my shitty side hustles and I'm able to just like enjoy my life, then I'll put eyes to paper.
I do think if you are able to read visibly versus audiobook, reading is better.
Yeah.
But I also think audiobook is like, it's like 90% of the way to reading.
Yeah,
I feel like it counts, especially for nonfiction. It's like
100%. Yeah,
it's like so close. I don't think it's like that much better to read.
Yeah,
but anyway,
I will say what do they call it? Game of Thrones audiobook series. That guy won an Emmy for that. Is an actor named Roy Dotrice. He kills it, dude. It's incredible. It came out before the shows, and he somehow already sounds like the actors. It's
yeah.
That
figured it out.
Roy Dotrice. Except there's 2 characters that he does that he decided. Let's take a little Asian accent for a walk, and they're pretty bad. Yeah. Yeah, but he still won an Emmy. So we're talking about having our shit together and feeling like we're on top of things and feeling like we have mental superpowers. And this is what I have not told you at all what our topic's going to be, so this is always fun.
No,
I didn't want to talk about today about IQ scores and the idea of genius.
Oh, I'm excited about this.
So a lot of this was based on a book the book that I read is called The Genius Myth by.
I thought you were going to be like the book I read. It's called The Bell Curve. It's about how most people are smarter than everyone else. It's like, no, Pat, no.
No, this comes up in that. So this takes a little wind through all of the worst parts
of IQ stuff. Yeah.
So this is the Genius Myth, and this is by Helen Lewis, and it's a really good book, and I really enjoyed it. And it just talks about the idea that we've made, the room that we've made in society for the idea of genius and the things that we let geniuses get away with. And the fact that genius is determined by a test and an IQ score that a lot of people say doesn't work. You know, like a lot of people say at least is misguided. And pretty much everyone who's ever championed the idea of IQ has been a virulent racist, or the worst kind of racist, the racist who doesn't think they're racist. They're just asking questions.
Right. Yeah. It doesn't really know what they're perpetuating. Or
It doesn't have to deal with doesn't have to deal with the consequences of what they're putting out there. And we're dealing with a real murderer's row of guys just asking questions. All these dudes would get a fucking coin if they were alive today, like from the Trump administration. So here we go. Last week, New York City mayoral candidate Zoran Mamdani, I guess this is a little topical, he detailed some of the finer points of his plan to improve New York City public schools. Now, one of the details that caused a lot of discussion online was he said he wanted to get rid of gifted and talented programs for kindergartners. The move, which many childhood experts say is probably for the best. They say that at this point, it's just like, let's just treat them all like they're going to succeed. Yeah. Why don't we just treat them all like they're going to do really good and see what happens, you know, instead of just, So
branding them dumb at 5 years
branding them dumb.
That's going to be great.
Yeah.
It's so crazy to me that people got so freaked out about that. I mean, you know,
it was all fucking the blowback was they got scathing rebukes from former gifted students who were so gifted that it secured them a career in think piece journalism. The most gifted among us as a species. Genetically right about everything. He was told that human populations naturally crank out a handful of super smart kids every year, and that it's up to us as a society to identify them early and nurture them so we can later enjoy the bounty of think pieces they will bless us with when they are 40.
Right. Who is going to be this generation's Brett Stevens? We'll never know unless we, you know,
who will simultaneously
kindergarten track.
Who will simultaneously miss the point and take all the fun out of the Oscar slap. I remember when the Oscar slap happened, I was like, what a fantastic night. Everyone just came together and some dude got slapped on TV. It was beautiful. Nobody gave a shit. And I was like, I tweeted, I was like, we have 6 hours of this. And tomorrow,
I'm enjoying this.
Tomorrow it's going to be like, what does this mean about the class in America? It's going to be every fucking stupid idiot on the internet is going to write like a 2-page report about like how this actually is about toxic masculinity or whatever. And I was like, dude, let's just lock in and have fun that 2 childhood stars that we know like had this happen. I was a big fan of it.
The thing I always think about is Judd Apatow after that tweeted, he could have killed him.
He could have killed him.
He could have killed him? What?
My fragile friend Chris almost died. Dude, if you have a man in your life that gets his ass whooped, even if this dude is snoring blood, like you need to like pretend that like you're not concerned for his safety at all, because that will ruin him. He won't recover. Like he'll just like go towards the light if everybody's like, oh,
I can't go back there.
You've broken this little fragile porcelain mouse friend of ours. Make it sound like your boy is fine, even if this dude is he literally has an eye hanging out of his head. So, anyways, this is what needs to be made clear that Mamdani's plan did call for an end to kindergarten gifted applicants, and no change made to the system later on down the road. Just said, in kindergarten, why don't we just do this all this way? But again, people were telling them this is a bad idea because geniuses are born and they need to be nurtured and protected, a class free from some of the restraints and expectations placed on us regular folk.
Isn't it so weird how geniuses are born, not made, and they're always born into upper middle class or upper class white families with parents who are both college educated. What are you talking about? You'll get into it. And I know that's not always true. And people do have different abilities and blah, 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 blah. But like,
what we noticed about this, what's funny is, so in that book, Helen Lewis, she talked about they were basically, somebody found out that if you take the foreword, the dedication and all these people's books that they write about all this stuff, and you take all that text and you search the phrase "my wife typed," And almost every
Yeah.
one of them are like, and finally, my dear wife, who typed every word that I rambled to her in our sunroom. And it was like, my wife
Yep.
typed, my wife typed, my wife typed. I don't think that's the thing I was going to get next. This is an American ideal. We love a genius, a disruptor, a wonderkind.
Prodigy.
Yeah, a natural
Yeah.
through sheer brain power is able to turn entire industries on their head and alter the course of human history. It's a story we tell ourselves all the time. But again, like you said, most like it turns out a lot of these geniuses born into prominent families with connections to the industry they end up excelling at. Then you also have, just like I said, the my wife typed scenario where are you familiar with obviously Jackson Pollock? We all know Jackson Pollock, but Jackson
Mhm.
Pollock had a wife named Lee Krasner, and Lee Krasner was
Mhm.
a also very successful generational talent of an artist,
Yeah.
and didn't really prosper until after his death because she spent every waking minute he was alive just propping this drunk motherfucker up so he could drip paint. She was like,
Right.
yeah. Do you think he made those paintings because he had a paint cup and he just fucking nodding off because he was shit faced? It was just like dripping out onto the thing.
And he's like, "Oh shit.
Oh,
No, I
fuck.
didn't ruin it. It's supposed to be like this."
Yeah, he was like a barely functioning alcoholic, and he's remembered as obviously one of the greatest artists of our day. But his wife,
Mhm.
who's like arguably just as, if not more talented than him, and had a longer career that did way more for the arts in terms of what she set up and
Right.
the collection she
The
curated.
legacy.
The legacy,
Yeah.
yeah, but it was like she just propped up this genius dude, this fucking white guy at the turn of the century, and that's a lot of that happens. But we tell
Right.
ourselves,
Even if you're like a quote unquote described genius woman, there's not a lot of my husband typed.
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah,
there's not a ton of that going on for sure.
yeah.
In rare cases, but
Dude, that's oh man, I was just thinking of Liver King, be like how he wouldn't carry in groceries. It's like, hey, would you type while your wife's transcribing? He just curls you into a ball and throws you out of his house. It's like, yeah, we're not doing that around here, bud. So, we make all this room for geniuses in our society, and it's a title that is figured out by a test, and that comes with all sorts of other just implications. So, is any of it true? Like, what does this all mean? Can we trust it? Is it even real? Well, it
have
turns
you ever
out
had to take an IQ test
I have
before you go
not.
on?
No, I have
Have
not.
you, yeah.
So when I was a kid, like everybody, like I read a lot and I was well spoken. So everybody was like, "Oh, you're really smart." I'm not saying I'm
Mhm.
stupid, but like you're really smart. So that was a thing that I kind of latched onto as a personality trait when I realized I wasn't getting any better at athletics. I was like, and then before I
Yeah.
really started to learn how to make friends, it was like, maybe I'm like a smart kid, but my grades were always fucking just above failing. Like I wasn't like smart.
Right.
I was just
Well,
like,
you weren't like, I'm smart, so I'm gonna do good in school.
yeah, no, that
Like those
wasn't,
are
yeah, yeah, yeah.
different
I
things. Yeah,
distinctively
yeah.
remember talking to my dad and articulating this point and being like, he would be like, you start off with good grades. As the year goes on, you get bad grades because clearly you can do the good grades. And he's like, but everybody in my life was like, oh, you need to get your grades back up. And I said this to my dad, and I'm always realizing what I was thinking. I said, but yeah, if I get better grades, then they win. Like that was legitimately.
awesome.
I was like in sixth grade. I was like, but like if I do that, they fucking won. And like, it's just, God bless my parents for having to deal with that dumbass thing of.
Yeah, that's so funny.
Yeah.
That's so interesting because like I feel like similarly, like I being smart, I mean, it's still to my detriment, like way too much of my
Yeah,
identity
yeah,
is
yeah.
like being a smart
Yeah,
person.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
I think it has hurt my comedy. I think it hurts my relationships. Like I don't think it's a good quality, but same, like I was told from a pretty young age. And my parents are people who really value that. And
Yeah.
like, it's a textbook thing too. My parents both are nerds. And so I was raised in like a nerd household.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's not like I was not like a natural thing. It was like, this was valuable in, but whatever. It was same deal. I was like, that was something that I was proud of,
Yeah,
that I was
yeah,
smart.
yeah.
But at the same time, I was like, I'm too smart to give a shit about grades.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
smart enough to know that this is bullshit.
Yeah, that's right.
And I don't want to do it,
Yeah.
you know?
That's right.
And
That's right.
I did fine, but like I didn't, yeah, I was like a solid A minus student. Because I was
Yeah.
just like, I'm not giving you that A plus. Fuck you. I'm not doing it.
I was like a three-peat freshman in high school. I'm talking about where it was like my
Really?
senior year hit, and they were like, it was like the first time in my life where I was like, I gotta get some shit. I gotta put my shit together. I did all these like
Yeah, yeah.
these the makeup modules and shit, and like the makeup module class.
Didn't you
that-
say you did summer?
I did summer school, and I ended up graduating. I was supposed to graduate in the March or the spring semester of 2003. I instead went to summer school, a semester of like pregnant mom who smoked cigarette school.
Right. That's what you told me. You were in pregnant mom school for a while.
And then I came back in the first semester of the next year, first day of the next semester of the next year. I came in and took my final test and got my diploma. So 4.5 years, almost 5 years of high school. And that's one thing, like, I'm way too fucking smart to have gone to high school for 5 years. That was very stupid of me.
I mean, that's the thing is like, I definitely think you're like one of the smartest people I know. You just like but it makes sense. Like, yeah. School is not an indicator of that. And it does sort of make me wonder, like, because I'm kind of anti-gifted kid shit generally, but I am like, maybe that would have helped you, you know?
Yeah.
Because like, you are smart. You just were like, this is stupid and I hate it and I want to go have fun. And like, maybe if there was like a different way to engage you, because like, it's not like you needed extra help on the work.
Yeah.
You needed like a reason to want to do
to want to do it. Yeah, that's exactly it. And then, then when high school hit, my parents were split up and my mom was working 2 jobs and I was just, and we had just moved to like the hood. And I was like, oh, what fun awaits me off this porch. I dove right. Yeah. It was fucking out after that. But yeah, but
anyway, I was just wondering if you'd ever taken one. I took one in high school, but it was like, they're just weird. It's a lot of like looking at a series of shapes and then being like, which is the next shape based on the pattern that you can draw. It's a lot of like pattern stuff and like visual, a lot of images where you're like, it'll be like a square and a circle, and then it'll be like rotated, and then it'll be a triangle and like, it's just, it's very hard to articulate the reasoning but you can feel your brain like doing something.
Like,
and then you just sort of like divine the answer. But anyway.
Yeah, I've seen some of the clips of like, or like the samples of the questions and stuff. So what they do basically, like an IQ, intelligence quotient, is a total score derived from a set of standardized tests or subtests designed to assess human intelligence. We all know that here. Originally, IQ score was obtained by dividing a person's estimated age or estimated mental age they would obtain by the intelligence test by the person's chronological age. The resulting fraction was multiplied by 100 to obtain the IQ score. For modern IQ tests,
this is why I'm positive because I did well on it in high school. I had like a good score. I'm positive now it would be so much worse. Because I have not gotten any smarter. I think I've gotten dumber.
Well, I've found myself back in a classroom environment for the first time in a very long time, and I've had to have like moments where I was like, I remember being like, okay, I've always lived in the last minute. I can fucking do it. And I could for like the first part of it where it was just like, what's this? And it's a screwdriver. No, it was never that simple, but it was just like easier stuff. Now we're in this shit where I'm like calculating to find ohms and resistance on a circuit. And it was like, I very quickly had to be real myself. I was like, all right, bro, you need to humble yourself because you're not going to
You've reached the limit.
Yeah, you've reached the limit that your charm and fucking just, whatever, not even charm, but just like me always being able to think out of a situation at the last minute. It's like, you're beyond that now.
Right.
You need to sit down and fucking open the book. And it's been, that was humbling, but scores from intelligence tests are estimates of intelligence. Unlike quantities such as distance and mass, a concrete measure of intelligence cannot be achieved given the abstract nature of the concept of intelligence. So IQ scores were used for educational placement, assessment of intellectual ability, and evaluating job applicants. In recent contexts, they've been studied as predictors of job performance and of income. And they are also used to study distributions of psychometric intelligence in populations and the correlations between it and other variables. And so where we're also finding right now, I thought this was kind of interesting. I'd known this for a while. I remember hearing this fact, but the Flynn effect is that basically for every 10 years, IQ scores tend to go up 3.5 points every 10 years. The average does.
For the populace.
For the population in general. Everybody does better on them.
We're getting smarter.
Yeah, we're getting smarter. And
I wonder if that trend has reversed.
Yeah. It feels like that. But as they said, what it is what they theorize is that our culture becomes more self-referential as time goes on. And so like one of the examples they used was you could watch a soap commercial from the 1930s. It was like, hey, if you got dirty hands, we've got soap. You know, and it's like this soap makes your hands not dirty.
Yeah.
You watch a soap commercial now, it's like a fucking acid trip. It's like the Old Spice shit, the guy's walking backwards on a horse. They're making fun of another
Yeah.
style of commercial. And if you haven't seen that commercial, made that connection, none of it makes any sense. And it's all fucking non sequiturs and fucking weird, but it gets the point across. And it's because like our shit has just become so self-referential that like our
Right.
brain has to form these quicker synopses to just get by, is one theory. So
That's so interesting. That's totally true about like the commercials, the way that they used to be versus now. And it's like we're moving further into like post-modernity.
yeah,
Like we're
yeah,
just
yeah.
getting more right. You know exactly, you know, like this is selling me soap, you
Yeah,
know, in
yeah,
frame
yeah,
one. And
yeah.
so they can have like the guy's nipples talk to you or
Yeah,
whatever
yeah,
from the
yeah.
and
Ooh,
it's like,
write
oh,
that
this makes me want to
down.
buy soap.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Man, one of the things that they had said was also they were like people's knowledge now is just tends to be way more scholarly based and academic based, whereas a knowledge used to be very
Mm,
real world based. One of the problems that was on the intelligence, the IQ test, was they would be like, what do rabbits and dogs have in common? And if you were to ask people now, they would more than likely say they're both mammals. Which is like,
mm,
it just shows that they know about taxonomy, they know about animal kingdoms and shit. If you'd ask somebody 100
right.
years ago, they go, oh, you use dogs to hunt rabbits. That would have been the connection they would have
Yeah.
made. And it's like, that's very
Right.
true. It's just as true. In fact, it's way more practical, but it just doesn't ding on the, when you're
Yeah.
gauging scholarly aptitude. It's like, no, these people know more about the fucking, the animal kingdoms. Just, so it's like, yeah,
That's so interesting. That's totally true. That sort of reminds me, I saw like a TikTok or something today that like it said that like we're losing the vocabulary that we used to have to describe nature. Like there used to be way more words to
oh,
describe
wow.
like outside, and we don't have them anymore as our day-to-day lives move more and more indoors and onto screens, and especially like places where English is spoken as a native language tend to be highly
Yeah,
industrialized
yeah.
places where like people aren't spending a ton of time outside. And so like these words are becoming archaic because they're not like in daily use anymore,
Yeah,
which is like
damn.
really bleak, but also just like fascinating how
Yeah,
that
it is
stuff still
fascinating. Yeah, because
exists.
think about that. Like, if I played outside as a kid, and if somebody were to tell me, like, I went past the brook up on the knoll and walked down the hill into the pasture, I'm on board, but I could 100% see some kid at fucking work and be like, the fuck? Like, what the fuck is a pasture? Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, there's like, it was
Yeah.
outside. You're
Or
just
just
outside.
like they used to know like the names of different types of rock, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
like that
yeah,
kind of stuff. Like
yeah.
you could talk about like the karst cliffs and people would be like, yeah, the karst cliffs or
Yeah.
whatever. And like, you know, that stuff is just going away in a way that is depressing.
Damn. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I didn't even hear that. That's crazy. Well, so I was I thought earlier we were talking about a real murderer's row of just asking questions, guys. Here, so essentially, I want to show that basically the study of IQs has basically taken a winding turn to just about every bad idea that we've ever had,
Mm,
and
hmm.
we really like we get down to the progenitor of all this shit. And when you talk about IQ, and especially genetic IQ and hereditary IQ is a term we're going to use moving forward, the idea that your IQ is influenced by the genes that you carry. There
Right. And
is,
is like innate in some way.
yeah, obviously with anything they say, most experts agree, and these are experts that are just looking at it from an academic standpoint, say usually about 40 to 60% of somebody's brain power can be associated by like their parents' cognitive abilities and stuff. But there's
Mm,
just that
hmm.
still leaves 60 to 40% that's not. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a huge part of who you
Right.
are, what you come up with. Like, so
I think about that sometimes with like I was just listening to this guy Stephen Merritt. He is in a band called Magnetic Fields. He's a really good songwriter. And he he never knew his dad. Like he was born to a single mom after like she had like a brief affair. And he's an incredibly prolific songwriter. He's written hundreds of songs. And his biological father was a musician, was like a famous
oh
folk
wow.
musician. And just I feel like there are a lot of examples of that. Like isn't God, that guy who died, he died in like is it Jeff Buckley, right? Yeah, his dad was Tim Buckley, who was like a folk musician. Like I just feel like it seems to clearly be like independent of nurture, some of
Yeah,
this
yeah.
stuff. You know, like your brain is takes to music, or your
Yeah.
brain takes to math, or takes to language. Like, I can totally see it being genetic in some
Yeah,
way.
100%. Yeah, and it's there, and that's just because that's how shit works. But you do have people that saw these things and are like, let's run with this and attach every bad idea that I have to it. And so
Right.
this all starts back, obviously, we know we all are familiar with eugenics, that term,
Sure.
and I think what
Making a comeback
making
these
a comeback.
days.
Yeah, the reason all this is so important is you hear people talk about, Charlie Kirk talking about fucking, is this pilot qualified? Or now we're getting rid of DEI. We only want the best. This is how they're going to start determining and justifying that shit. And it's never had a good run like that.
Yeah.
So a guy I want to start
Firing
off
people
with,
at the CDC, like all this stuff is just let weak people die, basically.
Exactly.
Weak people are anyone who isn't white and physically healthy. That's what that means.
It's fucked up, man. So it starts off with Francis Galton. Now, he actually invented the term eugenics. Now, who Dalton is, or Galton, I apologize. He's actually Darwin's cousin. I don't know if that's a common fact, that Darwin's cousin came up with eugenics.
Thanks.
Yeah. So to give you the idea of the difference between Francis Galton and his cousin Charles Darwin, is that both of them visited a slave market in their days. Darwin was like, this is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in the world, and it pushed him to support abolitionist causes. He was just, it was a transformative experience for him.
Sure.
Galton, his cousin, was like giddy. He wrote in his little diary, he was like, oh, I saw the most incredible thing today. And if I would have actually had this much money, if I would have cashed my check, I could have got that, but I didn't. He talks about it like he went to the fucking market, and it's just insane. So
he missed Prime Day or something.
Yeah.
The deals.
It was
only
bad.
I'd gotten paid.
Yeah. So he became, he was a polymath. He made important contributions in fields like meteorology, biology, criminology. He became very active in the British Association for the Advancement of Science, presenting many papers on a wide variety of topics. The publication by his cousin, Charles Darwin, The Origin of Species in 1859, was an event that changed Galton's life. He came to be gripped by the work, especially the first chapter on variation under domestication concerning animal breeding. So Galton devoted much of the rest of his life to exploring variation in human populations and its implications, at which Darwin had only hinted of in The Origin of Species, although he returned to it in 1871 for his book The Descent of Man, where he drew upon his cousin's work in the intervening period. He was like, damn, good call, cuz. So they felt differently about slave markets, but not about everything. So Galton established a research program which embraced multiple aspects of human variation, from mental characteristics to height to facial images to fingerprint patterns, and the requiring novel measures of traits, devising large-scale collection of data and using those measures, and in the end, the discovery of a new statistical technique for describing and understanding the data. He dove into talking about how just some of the bad things that we tend to do genetically. He did point out that in British society, there are late marriages of eminent people, and the paucity of their children he described as dysgenic. So eugenics is supposed to be a positive term. Like eugenics is like good.
Eugenic is good, dysgenic is bad. And I've seen like right-wing, like Twitter Nazis calling people dysgenic. Like this is totally making a comeback.
That's
it's interesting that he says that people who have kids later in life tend to have dysgenic children, because I thought there was research that suggested that people, if we're going, which again, it's IQ, it's completely fraught and bullshit, but like that people who had kids at later ages, their kids tended to be smarter.
See, I think when he said
which I think is a correlative thing, because people who tend to have kids later are people who got advanced degrees.
Yeah,
so I don't think it really. But I had heard that, so that's interesting.
Yeah, so I think he was talking about the paucity of their offspring. I think he meant like their fail children. Like two old rich people have a rich kid, and the kid's just like, and he's just like, you see this fucking guy? Like, the Eugenics Review, the Journal of so he wrote the Eugenics. The Journal of the Eugenics Education Society, called the Eugenics Review, was started in 1909. And Galton, the honorary president of the society, wrote the foreword for the first volume of the First International Congress of Eugenics, which was held in July of 1912, of which Winston Churchill was a attendee. Also, he wrote a novel where he tried to like take the ideas of eugenics and put them in like a hot, flashy, like fun novel. Not about fun.
Like Ayn Rand.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's what was called Can't say where, which was spelled KantsayWhere, one word, can't say where. And the novel described a utopia organized by eugenic religion designed to breed fitter and smarter humans. His unpublished notebooks, pretty much it was like a more racist Lord of the Rings, like when you get into like the orc shit, like. But he, no, I don't know if Lord of the Rings is straight up racist. I know that's a fun joke to make. But the novel described a utopia, so his unpublished notebooks show that this is an expansion material he'd been composing since at least 1901. So he was very Tolkien-esque, and he had built an entire world. And he sent it to his niece to read it over, and she was offended by some of the love scenes, and then he got rejected for publication and ended up burning a lot of it, although some of it was saved. So
good.
Yeah, good. Yeah. University College London has really tried to distance themselves from him, or like, because he did do a lot of eugenics shit that he like pioneered. So like they still use a lot of that stuff, but they're like, also they gotta be like, look, we know he's fucked up. I don't know, what do you want from us? Like,
a lot of prominent people around this time sort of dabbled in this while doing other things. I mean, like Winston Churchill, Margaret Sanger, who's I think the founder of Planned Parenthood, like an early reproductive rights activist.
She was a big eugenicist.
Prominent eugenicist. Like there are a lot of people who were in these who were like contributed things that we still draw upon and admire today.
Yeah.
And then had a sideline in like insane white supremacists.
Well, like what's crazy is like they fucking like these things, but like what it gives people the opportunity, especially when it's these educated like people who are at the forefront of academics and scholarly stuff. Everybody that we're going to talk about here was considered an academic genius, and they all bought into the shit, and they gave it like an air of legitimacy, and they could be like the whole like, we're just asking questions, we're just doing this. That literally was, like I said, they're just asking questions, guys. And
it's because it's self-justifying, right? Like, of course this is true, and we're the examples of it. Like,
look,
we're naturally smarter and better, and that's why we ended up prominent figures. Like we have gotten here by virtue of our talents, not because of luck or well-placed relatives or having a cousin who's Charles Darwin, or like, and that's why the op-ed people want the gifted kid programs, because it's self-justifying. It's like they all went through it, and they need to maintain their identity as more gifted and talented than the average person. So like, of course they're going to believe in it,
Yeah, it's so like, and you talk about like the back to the gifted kid program. So there was the idea that you could spot a genius early on is like very like, and that's what a lot of people, that's when we got to get it. We got to like, like foster this. So there was a guy by the name of Lewis Terman. So Lewis Terman, he was a figure in this entire movement. He was born to one of 11 kids. He was educated and bright, but he always had to leave school to go help on the family farm. His family had a big library. They were pretty well-to-do. He grew up in southern Indiana. But one day, a book salesman stopped by and sold him a book on phrenology. So the peddler came in and he felt the bumps of the whole family and told Lewis that he was destined for greatness. And Lewis said this kind of predisposed him to try really hard and take academic risks and swing for the fences, because he was told from an early thing that he was, that he was going to be like hot shit. So he did later stop believing in it because phrenology was widely debunked. But like, only just the fact that it was like, you can't tell by the fucking bumps on the head. No, it's the diameter of the nose or whatever the fuck. There was something else in the wings that they were like, they're like, that's kookery. I love that on The Simpsons when Mr. Burns references phrenology, and Smithers goes, "Oh, well, sir, that was dismissed as quackery 150 years ago." He's like, "Well, of course you believe that. You've got the sloping brow of a stagecoach tilter." So later on, he did go on to college at Stanford and decided to write his paper on IQ scores. His professor told him, like, "Hey, man, that's not going to be a good paper. Like, we don't really know anything about it." And he was like, also, he said it was foolish to get pulled in by the allure of seemingly quantifiable data. So his guy was like, "Look, you're gonna find a whole bunch of shit."
Even back then.
Yeah. Back then he was like, "Dude, there's so much we can't account for. You're gonna see all these things. You're gonna just start pulling correlation out of it." And he was like, "No, a guy felt my head when I was a kid and said that I was smart. So get out of my way, you troglodyte." So he eventually set up a study called the Genetic Studies of Genius. And this is a very famous, very wide study where it was conducted by Terman at Stanford. And essentially what he did was he took around 1,000 children, and Terman's goal was to disprove the belief that gifted children were sickly, socially inept, and not well-rounded. Therefore, so that was one.
They're not losers. Shut up.
We're not fucking losers. Well, one thing he found was that kids did tend to be like they did dispel the idea of like the sickly, wasting genius, because genius does have a lot to do with your childhood nutrition, how well to do is your family. That's why you do see a lot of like a lot of people that are successful, like smart people tend to be taller, but because it's like they like childhood. Like, I'm not saying that's just that, but like childhood nutrition has a lot to do with it. So you do see healthy people. You know, I don't want to say like taller necessarily, but you see people that are healthy. It just comes up.
Right. It's not correlated because like a failing body equals a failing mind or whatever.
Yeah,
it's like, literally, you got enough protein at a critical juncture, and so like you like things went better for you because like your family could feed you. Like that is totally.
So he took 1,000 kids. He made sure that there was actually it was eventually ballooned to around 1,444. Terman gradually added subjects to the study through 1928 until there were 1,500. So he tested them with what was called the Stanford Binet Intelligence Scale, which he ended up. It was called initially the Binet Intelligence Scale, but he had tweaked it and it became the Stanford model, named after where he was teaching. So he went to these kids and he would do these like essentially these interviews, and he would get them in the program, and they would check in on them every 8 years or every like 4 to 8 years as time went on and see where they were at. And so,
have you ever? I'm sorry to interrupt. Have you ever seen the Up series?
Up, like the balloon house?
It's a documentary series.
No. I was like, yeah, the balloon house.
Oh, right, the Pixar. No, I feel like you might like it. It's this series. It was called 7 Up, and it's by this guy Michael Apted, who died recently. And it started in like the 50s, and it was a look at 7 British children from different socioeconomic backgrounds. And it was sort of about this thing of like, does your childhood determine the outcomes in your life? And every 7 years, he made a new documentary until these people are now in their 60s, I think maybe early 70s. And it followed them. A few people dropped out, but like the majority of them, it followed them through the course of their lifetime. And it's so good. It's so fascinating. It's just like a wonderful character study of these different people.
That does seem right up my alley.
It does. I mean, it does offer like some good, interesting class analysis and stuff, but it's also just like seeing these traits in these kids develop over time, and then to see like who they become and having all of this. It's so good. If you have like 20 hours to kill, it's a great watch.
I will check that out.
But it sounds similar to this thing where they check in every 8 years. Like Michael Apted's thing is similar.
Yeah. He did that. He said he wanted to find out like what like basically like because these kids tested high IQs. He was like, look, watch, they're gonna do fucking fantastic. So they started following them. And they did do really well. But he had well over half of men in Terman's study finish college compared to 8% of the general population. Some of Terman's subjects reached great prominence in their fields. Among them were head I Love Lucy writer Jess Oppenheimer, and the American Psychological Association president and educational psychologist Lee Cronbach. Ah, yes, Lee Cronbach. But yeah, so they had eventually one of the kids grew up to take over the study from Terman. He became a distinguished, But some of the criticism is that he didn't really have a generalizable sample. Terman also meddled in their lives. He sent them recommendation letters to jobs. He's like, hey, here's one of my little genius kids. He helped a ton of them get into Stanford. You know, so it's like, look at all the success.
You're like, if you're not smart enough to know that affects your study, you're not smart enough to be running a study about smart people. Like, your thumb is so on the scale, dude.
Yeah, so that was so they called the little kids termites was their names. The little kid, his name was Louis Termins, and they called him his termites, termites, and he got him out there.
Nice.
But yeah, they did really well. But he looked at that. It's kind of like criticized the study, but somebody did say the point that it proved it was a valuable study because it disproved his hypothesis, which is pretty interesting. But one guy that he interviewed to get in there was a guy named William Shockley. And William Shockley, as a little boy, was rejected from the study for having too low of an IQ. But he came from very very intelligent parents. His parents were both educators, so they tested high. And actually, his mother tested with a 160 IQ or some crazy shit like that. And so, but he didn't make it in. Well, he would go on to win the Nobel Peace Prize for his work in inventing the electrical transistor, which is kind of funny to make it in the study. However, the idea of him not getting into this study actually really affected his life, and we'll hook back up with William Shockley here in a moment. I did, however, want to mention
also cool that he invented an electrical thing, and his last name is Shockley.
That
cool.
I didn't even.
I like that.
Damn, that is pretty sick. Damn, he's blinded me with
That's the study
science.
they should do is nominative determinism, how your name affects what you do. Shockley's in that study.
Do you know what your last name means?
I do.
What
it
does it
means
mean?
golden beard.
Ooh,
Isn't that cool?
That's fucking sick.
Barba d'Oro. Barba.
Yeah. Ooh, damn, that's tight. So you have.
What's yours? What's yours mean?
So Siwa, it means something at the point of like it's like a bourgeoisie title. Siwa means something to the effect of like there's parts of my family that say it means 6 kings. I don't believe that. I don't think that actually fixes that. But like the ROI is royal.
Right.
And I looked it up. They said it was essentially a surname like if somebody's last name was bourgeois or something like that. Like just like it was like a
right. It's like you were a member of the gentry or something.
Which is crazy because I since my family touched down in like New England or in like French Canada and those areas, like they've been an outlaw breed. So I don't know like how far back that goes, but that's what I've heard. It has some like royal connotation to it. But so there's a guy named Cyril Burt, and I did want to mention him for a moment because not only is the study of IQ founded on shaky science, but it also has a tendency to attract bullshitters. One man by the name of Cyril Burt extensively studied sets of twins who grew up in separate environments. He was essentially entering the nature versus nurture debate on the side of nature. And
dude, if you're a twin and you don't live with your other twin, you better be prepared to meet so many scientists.
Yeah.
You're just like, because they're not allowed to like do it to you on purpose. So if that happens to you, it's just they're like rubbing their hands together. They can't wait. They can't wait, dude.
This was at a time, I guess it was not uncommon for poor women giving birth to twins to send one twin away to live elsewhere, whether it be at like a boarding home or with family, just because they were like, yeah, you can't just go dropping 2 kids on me. Fucking bread costs a nickel and I get paid a dime. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Shit's kind of tight right now.
It's like 1 kid is maybe gonna live. Past toddlerhood. Week 2 is gonna cut the chances. Yeah.
So Cyril Burt, he interviewed all these kids throughout like the 40s and 50s. And he also was a genius. Burt was this fucking really smart kid, always was smart his whole life, had all these fucking which is regarded as a genius, also was a total asshole. And he would do these studies.
They go together.
Yeah, exactly. He would do these studies and he was like one of the early prototypes of people being like, that man can't be contained by polite society. He's too smart.
Yeah.
He's too smart to not be an asshole. And that's why you see shows like House. I've never seen an episode of House, but I watch a lot of clips on Facebook.
On YouTube Shorts, right?
Yeah, dude, they're insane. Because at one point he just comes in and there's a black dude sitting there and he goes, "You know why you're black?" The guy was like, "What?" And it had to do with he knew he was lying about using intravenous drugs because of the way his pigmentation or his melanin worked around the needle, put some shit like that. But he just comes in, I'm just scrolling, he goes, "You know why you're black?" The guy's like, "What the fuck?" And there's this one reel be like, "You know why you're dumb?" Or this, it's insane. But they're like, that's what a genius looks like in a Hollywood show writer.
I watched that show when it was on.
I
loved it, and I went back and watched it during COVID because hospitals on the brain and stuff. It is a really good show. It's a very fun procedural. The performances are good, but it is so racist. And you forget because it's from the early 2000s when things were allowed to be really racist and people didn't really think about it.
Yeah.
And because he's supposed to be offensive. He's supposed to be cantankerous and offensive. But, like, you could not make a character that fucking
Yeah,
racist
yeah,
now.
yeah.
Even if they were supposed to be cantankerous, you'd be like, "No, this guy needs to go to jail.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
fuck
Yeah,
this
you
guy."
can't just like you can't just say that shit. Yeah, dude. Like that's
You can have him be, like, an asshole in other ways, but, like, they
yeah.
would not have him be an asshole in that
Yeah,
way
dude, the fucking
anymore,
like
and it's like, it feels like it's from 100 years
yeah.
ago. Like, it's so
The
crazy.
race comedy from the early 2000s, of which like I thought so much of it was fucking funny. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, I now regret laughing
Oh,
at that.
yeah.
It was just like a
I thought
thing.
it was completely fine,
Yeah,
and all the homophobic stuff too,
yeah, yeah. It
and,
was
like,
just it was what it
I
was.
it is because, like, I think about that a lot where I feel like we've talked about this, but it's like, I would say I said the F slur, like, I would say I wouldn't say the N word, but I was like, I would make pretty callous jokes and stuff,
Yeah,
but, like, I had gay friends. I had
yeah. It
black
was just
friends, like,
yeah, yeah,
and I'm sure my gay friends and my, the people of color in my life were constantly biting their tongues around white
yeah,
people
yeah,
because
yeah,
or straight people because people were saying all this stuff. But it really was it wasn't correlated to how you felt about
yeah.
that group of people. There was just no sense of like, hey, you're making the world worse for them by
Yeah,
saying this
yeah,
shit.
yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? Like,
I remember
it's
the
wild.
time I fucking like I shook it where I was like, oh, I probably shouldn't say it anymore. I had my friend at work who's still one of my close friends. We have the same birthday, but he's older than me and he's a gay dude. And he taught me how to tie a tie. And so like, but he
Aw.
yeah, like he rules. I love that guy. And one day he was my manager and I was asking him if I could go home. And I was like, hey, can I take off early tonight? He goes, no, Sean already said he asked if he could leave. And I said, that F slur. And I looked over at him and I saw I was like 23. I look over and I saw his like
Yeah.
face kind of drop. He was like, come on, dude. And I felt so fucking bad. And that I'm not
That's
saying
all it took.
yeah. I'm not saying I've never said like that shit ever again, but like that was when I was kind of like, oh, other people's feelings are at stake here. That was it was what it was. But you could just back then, that was just how people joked around. It was considered like
Yeah,
that's what you
completely.
had to do to make comedy. It was like, oh, comedy is you're gonna talk about race and you're gonna do this, and it's just that's why
Yeah.
when people do it now, I'm like, you don't have to do that now. So it feels like you're doing it on purpose. Like back then, it's just what comedy was. I don't know if that
It was
makes
just in the
sense.
water in this really
Yeah.
weird way. Yeah.
Well,
But anyway.
yeah, what a time, right? What a time. So, so this guy, yeah, so Cyril Burt, he he rubs everybody the wrong way, total asshole. Well, one day in 1976, and this is after he'd been established as like a a big name in genetics and science and behavioral studies. So, in an ad in 1976 in the Sunday Times asked if anyone who was involved in a study of twins conducted by Cyril Burt knew how to contact his research assistants, Margaret Howard and Jay Conway. Publications attributed to these two were published in a journal that was edited by Burt between 1952 and 1959, including a joint paper of Burt and Howard, remarkable as one of the few of Burt's research papers, if not the only one, not authored solely by him. The papers and the names of Howard or Conway were published after Burt's retirement from University College, and although their affiliations were said to be with University College, Howard specifically with its psychology department. No one with these names were registered as a member of staff or student of University College between 1914 and 1976, or in any other institution within the University of London. They went and talked to people that he studied, some of the twins they talked to, like, hey, did you ever see these ladies, Jay Conway, or,
Yeah.
and everybody's like, no, and essentially that this caused them to look deeper into his research, and people are pretty much of the agreement now that he fabricated all of these ladies that he made up and wrote papers
Wow.
under their names, and also they found out that most of his research stuff had burned up in the years after the war, and he like essentially re-entered all the data in. And this
Right.
is years of data,
Reconstituted it.
and they're like,
Yeah.
there's no way you remembered that. And this completely changed the way people look because he said twins. They still have the same IQ, even though they're raised over here and different, and they have all these correlations. And it turns out it wasn't necessarily the case, but he like put it on for like nature versus nurture. And so,
Right. And it's such a sticky subject. People want the study to be real. So like,
yeah.
they're not gonna look into it maybe too deeply until
Yeah.
that happened. Yeah, that's fascinating.
One of his students, who went on to become very famous as well, wrote a defense of him, and essentially, this is paraphrasing, but this is definitely what was said. He was like, to get the work you get out of Cyril Burt, you need to allow him to fabricate and fudge numbers. And it was just like, buddy, that
Interesting.
doesn't make any fucking sense, but okay. Or I was like my Z-list celebrity friend I've mentioned before, who was like on South by, one of his more famous friends in the hardcore scene said, "You can tell bouncers you're me. Just go in as me." And
Right. Yeah.
yeah, and he got caught, and he got back to the crib, and him and his other fucking Z-list friend, and he was like, "Bro," he's like, "I want to tell that lady, do you know who I am? I can pretend to be anybody I want." And I was like, that's a snake eating its own tail of just fucking of non-self-awareness. So a guy I want to ride out on here is probably just the crown prince of all this bullshit. He's the most recent one, and he went into like the modern media age as an advocate of race-based eugenics, and it's crazy how recent this guy was kicking around. I'm talking about the rejected person from Terman's Termites, William Shockley. So
Really?
yeah, all these men they truly believe in the idea of genius and believe themselves to be geniuses while advocating that
Right.
societal control be placed in the hands of a ruling genius class. And there are also
Right.
leading positions in the field of academia. And this is my theory, is that when you find certain people who don't fit into the world as it currently is, they shame the world for being that way. And they're like, if the world were to change back to the things that I'm good at, or at least I think I'm good at, that would be a way more pure and just world. So the fact that everybody out here, all these idiots are fucking out here socializing and having sex and just like having fun, and they're on Instagram, and I hate them. If everybody was whack as fuck like me and they just played, they just watched anime by themselves, nothing wrong with that. But like,
while you were partying, I was studying the blade. Kind of shit.
And we see it happening right now in the Trump administration. These motherfuckers are getting power, and they're crafting this world where you can be a Stephen Miller and walk outside the house. And that's not a world I want to live in. I want to live in a world where Stephen Miller can walk outside. That's fucked up. And so that's what they use everything in their power to shape that world. And that is what William Shockley did. So William Shockley, this guy, he was born into essentially the right place, right time, right race, right everything. And I say that because the people that know him, he's not, he's smart, but among academics, he's constantly outshined by every one of his peers. Every one of his mentors ends up surpassing him. He wins a Nobel Prize, but we'll talk about the kind of the shitty way he got it. And he wound up at the end of this. I'll just bring this up. Basically, this guy was born in Southern California in the early 20th century. I think right between the World War I and World War II. He's born there. He is born to an upper class family. They have money. They are all college educated. They try to go put him in that little termite program. He gets rejected from that. But he carries that with him, and he goes through and he develops an interest in technology at the right time when the electric age is being born in the universities of California.
Right.
And so he's just
like right country, right place of that country.
Yeah, just
like that is where that shit is going on.
Right where he needed to be. And so he ends up getting a job at Bell Labs. And Bell Labs is owned by AT&T. It was a huge place of scientific innovation, almost like all of the scientific breakthroughs that we know about. If they didn't have it at Bell Labs, somebody who made them worked there at one point. Like this was a poppin' ass place. And he oversaw a team looking to find an alternative method for amplifying telephone signals aside from vacuum tubes. Basically, vacuum tubes worked great for amplifying long distance calls, but their range was limited. It means you had to set up vacuum tubes alongside the fucking phone lines. And they were like, we need something better. So Shockley was interested in using a device that generated an electric field, whereas his team had different opinions. Two standouts of his team were guys named Walter Breton and John Bardeen. They went out on their own, and they created the point contact transistor, which used 2 dots of gold on a germanium crystal, which sounds badass.
Yeah. Sounds fake, but I believe it. Sounds like some Marvel movie shit.
Yeah. That's a MacGuffin.
Did you see the new Naked Gun?
I did. It's fantastic.
I just watched it the other night, but I really loved the PLOT device. That's what this is.
Yeah.
The gold and the crystal, that's the PLOT.
Yeah, the MacGuffin. Yeah, it's fucking Bell Labs was thrilled. Shockley was not, though. He had been developing something he called a sandwich transistor, which also sounds cool. Bell Labs went with the point contact model, the germanium crystal, but when it came to time to file patents, Shockley was furious that he was left off the paper paperwork. Patents were essentially how you moved your career along. Like he's involved in all these patents. And they were like, yeah, but these guys made it up. He goes, no, if you recall, they started out on my team. They started out on my team, and I was in charge of them. So these guys, Breton and Bardeen, shockingly just threatened an insurrection. So to mollify him, Bell Labs placed him at the center of all the publicity and allowed him to be in every press photograph. So he wasn't on the patent, but he was right in the center of everything.
Just annoying enough that shut him up by giving him what he wanted.
Which is a skill in all.
This is very. You know what this is? This is very Elon Musk behavior.
No, this guy is. Yeah, this is proto Musk, 100% proto Musk. So except he's a Nobel Prize winner. Elon Musk isn't smart, but like so. But well, yeah, he's fuck. I sound like him now because he would say that to people like, sometimes somebody corrected him and he goes, "Oh, what fundamental principle of nature have you observed?"
Get fucked.
His fucking wife wrote a book called "I Married a Genius," and and he wrote the foreword. And then he gets later on debunked and criticized by a guy who's a Scottish scientist. And he found out that his wife wrote a fucking book called I Married a Genius. And this is like the scientist who set out to like debunk this guy. And he just goes, oh, I bet my wife would write one called I Married a Dafty. And it's like, who do you think's a cooler guy? The dude who made that. Right. It's like, who are you going to rather spend any amount of time with? It's clearly the guy who just called himself dumb. So at the announcement of the discovery in 1948, Shockley answered all the journalists' questions. He was just like, also he was tall, so I like to imagine the guys were short and he was just reaching over him. He's like, right here, I'll go ahead and take that one. Just putting his elbow in front of like Breton's face or whatever. So he then immediately after this done, he quickly wrote a textbook about semiconductors, which are these new things that just now came out, which cemented him in the public consciousness as the inventor of the transistor. So he is now.
I bet this guy was doing like the game shows and stuff. You know those like
the Two Truths and a Lie, where it's like I work at a laboratory. Yeah. I bet
they're all
would've.
Pretending to be him, and then one of them is really him. Like I feel like he was probably. That was like how these types of people got famous back then.
Yeah, he did actually take a turn as he was the first public intellectual, just a general smart guy. I guarantee he has to be on one of those. He's on a bunch of talk shows where he's having way less fucking fun, where he's describing birth rates between black mothers and white mothers to two black interviewers who are just looking at it. Go watch that video on YouTube because first of all, they dog walk his ass, and then and they do it like in they meet him on his terms and talk in very academic terms about why he sucks. But like it's just it's worth watching. It's this guy, he has a homemade chart where it's like 1.2 children per mother versus 1.3. And they're like, do you think this is racist? And he goes, I'm going to say the answer that I do say all the time. He had a prepared canned answer for, is this racist? And it basically was like,
if you need to reverse that, you're probably not on the correct side of history.
And they pressed him and he just repeated the fucking thing he just said. Ooh, gross, dude. So now, he's in. So Shockley, Britton, and Bardeen were jointly awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for their work in 1958. So once he had the Nobel Prize, it was a wrap for him being anything other than an asshole. And eventually his team refused to report to him. They were just like, no, we're all set. We're not going to talk to that guy. And so they were like, all right. So they moved them out of there. So he gets those guys fired. One of the guys, Bardeen, left Bell Labs and wound up at University of Illinois, where he would snag a second Nobel Peace Prize in 1971 for his
showing the brains of the operation. You know?
Shockley was moved into management at another lab. I'm sorry, at his own company, the Shockley Transistor Company, which sounds like Spacely Sprockets. But he had another mutiny on his hands, where 8 of his subordinates walked out, citing his general shittiness. He would make them do IQ tests. He would make them do lie detector tests. He would corner them and like interrogate them about their actions in the lab. It was just places where the people were like, hey, we're fucking brilliant. We don't need to put up with this shit. So they leave. Among those 8 were the founders of a company called Fairchild Semiconductors, which is considered one of the founding fathers of Silicon Valley. 2 more of them would invent the microprocessor and found a company called Intel. So now he's a Nobel Prize winner. He's out of ideas. He's in his 50s, and all of his proteges have surpassed him, and the industry spotlight has since moved away. And he started reverting back to his old fascination about human IQ. So he used his platform as a Nobel laureate to shoehorn in his views about IQ and human genetics. He went, as one critic put it, from being a physicist with an impeccable scholastic record to being an amateur geneticist. He considered himself a
This
model.
sort of reminds me of like Bobby Fischer, the chess
Oh, yeah,
genius,
yeah.
where like he also like he was like a child prodigy. Clearly, I was not one.
I was a fucking prodigy officer. What the fuck you want from me? You're talking to a goddamn gifted kid.
He was like a really, really good chess player. And then he like moved to France and got really racist and became like a recluse. Like, just reminds me of this guy.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Dude, there's a guy on our site that always talks about how fucking brilliant he is at chess, and all these like younger kids are playing him on the little chess app, and everybody's beating him. Yeah, it's a pretty fun development out there. So, so he went. He considered himself a model for the public intellectual or the generally smart person. He believed that his views on all things were worth being heard. When at a press conference for Nobel physicists, he was asked about the chances of nuclear war. His response was, I mean, 50-50, I suppose, which they should shoot you out of a fucking cannon if you're on a dais for nuclear physicists who have won the Nobel Prize, and somebody says, "What's the word on nuclear war?" and you go, "Well, 50-50, I think." But even then he goes, but humanity isn't going to have a chance at surviving a nuclear war if we don't first get control of our own genetics. And he launched into a speech about genetics. Then he started saying that he wouldn't talk about physics unless he could talk about genetics. And eventually, this is kind of what he came up with and went on the talk show circuit and was like, hey guys, like this is, the inventor of the transistors here. And here's what, he has to say about all this. Essentially, he was in the last few decades of his life, Shockley, who had no degree in genetics, became widely known for his extreme views on race and human intelligence and his advocacy of eugenics. He just talked about things like the bell curve and just people being genetically superior. Well, then he started to talk about how he said, this is how we go through with eugenics without doing the Nazi way, is that we propose that individuals with IQs below 100 should be paid to undergo voluntary sterilization, 1,000 for each of their IQ points under 100. This proposal led to the University of Leeds to withdraw its offer of an honorary degree to him. Go Leeds,
I mean, incentivizing sterilization isn't like that far off from some of the stuff the Nazis did.
Yeah.
My understanding. Yeah. I don't know if you're totally avoiding Nazi shit with that.
Yeah, he said that way you can do it without needing the brown shirts.
I guess that's true.
Yeah.
You just have fascist doctors, I guess, at that point. Which, like, forced sterilization was happening in the U.S. well before this, too. And well after this.
Oh, yeah.
That is like a thing that is like totally documented. He's just like, we need more of that.
Yeah, there was a quote that I didn't use it on here, but not because I thought it was too rough, but basically there was a judge who made like a famous ruling. I think it was the Bell case or whatever, and he said 3 generations of imbeciles is enough, and it was just like completely snuffed out a fucking bloodline. So then at this point, he's of course bringing race into this. Then he does the Foundation for the Research of Education on Eugenics and Dysgenetics, or FREED. That's what the organization that he started. He also became a constant donor at a sperm bank that was supposed to give genius sperm, or like, athletes and geniuses. So he got involved in that. And then when he started getting known as a racist, they had to like withdraw his sperm from the collection.
They had to take all his sperm out. We can't have racist sperm in our eugenicist sperm bank. That's so funny.
He's just showing up and jacking off anyways. So you guys can't stop me.
Take it or leave it. It's here if you want it.
Yeah. So that was that it kind of ended up and kept up with his death. But then he started to, this one last thing that I just think is interesting. He started to grant interviews based on only if you could answer a questionnaire or pass a test. And so this person approaches him. He's writing an article for Playboy. And he said that he wanted to come and talk to him. He goes, all right, cool. You need to do this fucking test. The guy passes the test. He gets there. It's a white guy and a black guy. He's a journalist and the photographer. He sticks out his hand to the white guy and says, "Nice to meet you, Mr. Sill," is the guy's name. He just goes, "Oh, I'm the photographer. That's the journalist." And he was just like, what the fuck? And like it blew his mind.
Couldn't deal with it.
Yeah. And so he made the guy take a test on the spot. And
wow. Yeah. He didn't go, fuck, I'm embarrassed.
Yeah,
no way you took that test.
No fucking way you took that test. So he made him take the test and the guy passed it. And they were like, all right, let's sit down and talk eugenics. And he was just like, he started really trying to backpedal like the teeth of the shit he would say, kind of because he had him on his back foot. He goes, well, I just something they're like, why do people and academics think you're this. It's like, well, I guess they hate a precocious lad. And then the guy goes, yeah, you're in your fucking 70s, man. You are not a lad. He pushed him on that. He's like, you're not a kid. You're a fucking adult. What are you talking about?
Right. You're also like, after a certain age, you're not precocious.
Yeah, you're not precocious.
Like, precocious is like beyond your years.
Yeah.
Like you're 70. You're not smarter than
people say I act like I'm 110 all the time. Like,
right.
People say all the time, I think you were born 3 centuries ago by what I said. So, Shockley died of prostate cancer at the age of 79 in Stanford, California in 1989. So it wasn't that long ago. But that's essentially brings to a close all just a real winner's circle of people that were just completely convinced that they were smarter than everyone around them and that the world and all of their injustices they were experiencing could be solved if everything was just like, no, look at this thing that I happen to excel at based on the general rules that society's laid out.
Right.
If it was just people that looked and acted like me, we'd be fine. And this is coming back. It's like it's back when they talk about DEI hires and like who's one of the most qualified candidate for the job. These are the fucking metrics they're going to be using when they talk about immigration from shithole countries and places. There was a thing in here where fucking Cyril Burt said that we should limit immigration because Nordics tend to deteriorate in the presence of other races. Somebody said some shit like that this week. I don't even know it for sure, but look it up. There's some guy out there sitting behind a White House podium who said some shit similar to, if not, like that's happening right now. We're there. Fucking look alive, man. I don't know what to tell you guys. Just anytime somebody starts talking about IQ scores and just the general success of one race or this group of people versus another group of people, they're never just asking questions. They don't have your best interests at heart, even if you're as tall and as good looking as them. Like, I promise it's going to come back and fuck you over too. So just watch out. I don't know. Look alive, man. This shit sucks. And I hate everybody involved in everything we talked about today.
I feel like the IQ stuff really is like, it is one of those sort of trickle down things where like it has reached people who don't know its contemporary source of white supremacists. And so like they talk about it and they don't know. Like there's another example of this that I see all the time, which is there's a big sort of anti-birth control vibe out right now with women, like talking about being like very anti-hormonal birth control. And it's like, I get that, like, I don't take hormonal birth control because like it doesn't agree with me. Like I have a bad time on it. But like there are valid reasons not to like it. But if you're preaching from the rooftops about how birth control is bad, you are doing the work of the right. You like, and it's the same shit with IQ. It's like you think this is like a neutral thing, or you think that like there, because of like some direct experience that is like a way you can generalize about it. And it's like, you're doing white supremacy. You're doing like, you don't know it, but you are.
Yeah,
so like you have to really
You're doing the heavy lifting.
I'm glad you delineated where this shit came from, because it did not come from anywhere good.
Yeah, it was. And also, this is a fact I wanted to mention up top, but I think it kind of just puts everything in a fucking nutshell. First of all, IQ tests were developed to point out underperforming children. Is an interesting thing. Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, but like, this guy, Cyril Burt, the guy who lied about his twin studies. He said genius looks like this. Essentially, it was like, this is the ideal thing for genius. I think this is hilarious. You got to be male, middle to upper class, preferably Jewish. So right now we're still talking about Cyril Burt. He should receive intellectual stimulation at home, lose one parent before the age of 10. You should probably be born in February. You should die at 30 or 90, but never 60.
Is this real?
This is 100% real. This is what Cyril
That's
Burt.
fucking crazy.
Yeah, this is what Cyril Burt said made a genius. And during this, and I agree with this. During your peak years, from 35 to 50, there should be a minimum of solar activity, presumably low solar flares. No, I don't agree with that.
Okay.
That's just the quackery this dude was on. You should be born in February, so you got to be a Pisces.
It's horoscopes. Yeah, this is horoscopes. This is astrology.
Yeah.
It is as real as astrology, but it's for Nazis. It's Nazi astrology.
Yeah. I can't not say it in a Trump voice. You got to die at 30 or at 90, never at 60. We don't want them at 60. All right, guys. Well,
thank you,
this is a bit of an extra long episode, so I hope it was entertaining the whole time for you. So, guys,
man. Wild stuff. Thanks, Pat.
Look alive out there. Head on a swivel, folks. Fucking, it ain't getting no easier. I don't really know how else to say it. So, guys, we do this 2 times a month. We're dropping an episode, right? If you like what you hear and you want to listen to an ad-free episode and get access to our back catalog, you can do that at patreon.com/lie-cheat-and-steal. You also get access to 2 more episodes every month, and you can slide on the Discord server and talk to everybody else about scams that's out there. You can find us online. We're at Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Lie, Cheat, Steal Podcast. I'm on Blue Sky at PZTX. It's a Crooked Union Guy. Look me up. It's pretty fun. Kath, you got anything for us?
I'm Kath Barbadoro on Blue Sky and Instagram and TikTok, so follow me there. Thanks for listening, guys. Have a good one.
Yeah, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope everything's going good on your part. Like I said, keep both eyes open, head on a swivel, look alive, be safe, be smart, but above all, don't get caught.
Don't get caught. See you next time.